Back inside the John Book Fieldhouse on the Concordia-Wisconsin campus in Mequon, we get set for our third and final quarterfinal here in day one of the 2024 NCATA Division III tournament. Being joined by Falcon Acrobatics and Tumbling alum Katie Mirasola. Thanks for joining us, first of all.
Thank you for having me.
What an exciting day this is for the Falcons. Obviously, an opportunity to host an event like this. And it's got to be exciting as a competitor, watching this sport continue to grow, and now the entire Division III national tournament here inside the John Book Fieldhouse.
Yeah, this is super exciting, especially first time being held at Concordia. And even as an alumni, I never got the chance to compete in a D3 Nationals because it simply just wasn't a thing. So yeah, it's super exciting being back, and it's good to be here.
And of course, for the Falcons, they won the first ever NCATA Division III tournament back in 2022, knocking off host Adrian College. Last year, Mary Hardin Baylor took the title. They're the number one seed of bye. They will be in action tomorrow morning in a semifinal against Texas Lutheran. But we'll start this quarterfinal with the compulsory event, the Acro Heat. Stevenson will start with a start value of 10. This is a program that's been around third season, and they are in the NCATA Division III tournament for the third time, as they were part of it in the inaugural season back in 2022. They actually lost to the Falcons. The only time the Falcons and the Mustangs have seen one another was in Adrian, Michigan. Did you like that as a competitor? Did you like to face teams that you weren't familiar with, or were you better off facing teams you kind of knew what to expect?
I feel like I could go both ways. Facing a team that you were used to was kind of like a comfort thing. But going against a new team was also kind of exciting because you didn't know exactly what skills they were going to throw. Yeah.
So we'll get things started here with the Acro Heats. Annabelle Rosso, a sophomore gymnastics background out there with Mariana Ruiz, the sophomore, also with a gymnastics background. You have Robin Scrauger along with Allison. You have Allison Ozimic, a sophomore from Pennsylvania. It's so important, the counter. Jaden Jacobs, a freshman. All about timing. And the Mustangs come in as number 6 seed. And even with that little bit of a wobble, they will maintain the balance long enough. And a good start here for Stevenson. I believe, too, just early odds, especially the early heats. Trying to weather the storm, weather the emotions, the butterflies, and just, trying to get used to the environment.
Yeah, definitely. I feel like I always had, the pre-meet jitters. But it's as soon as I hit the mat for the first time, I was just locked in, and, all those jitters went away.
Did you enjoy, obviously, competing at home before the home base, but
yeah.
Was there a different comfort knowing if you're at home versus being on the road and getting used to your surroundings?
100%. I feel like especially in acro, we look and we spot things on the wall. And so that is kind of part of our pre-meet routine. When we went away, we would walk around the building, see where we're going to spot. So definitely being at home is a slight advantage because there is that comfortability.
Now for the Falcons, they were back at home. They were home this past weekend as well, and ended up falling against Augustana, South Dakota on the 6th of April. They've been home for 3 other meets prior to this weekend, but now the challenge becomes, if you keep on winning, potentially competing for 3 days in a row, which is not something that is normal. And I know that's something that the coaching staff has addressed with this team, just how you go about preparing for competing potentially 3 days in a row.
Right.
It's a lot.
It is, and especially having just coming back from a meet on last Saturday, jumping right into practice this week. The girls have had a pretty busy week.
And about to see the Acro Heat with a start value of 10. And for the Falcons, a lot of familiar names, a lot of experience with Peyton Tarmina, one of the tops. Back for her senior year, you have Ellen Marie Sanders, along with Haley Comprude, Madison Arntz, along with Alexis. You have Alexis Feifel out there, Amanda Owens, Jaden Vale, Eliana Schmidt, and then counting will be Adriana Evericks, a sophomore from Hayward, California. Here come the Falcons for the Acro Heat here in the compulsory events. The 2 Falcon tops being Feifel along with Tarmina. Nice recovery there for Peyton Taramina. Could have been a lot worse, able to maintain her balance. That's so critical. You got to be mentally strong if something goes awry. Got to find a way to maybe cover it up and just
definitely
keep going.
Totally. It's totally a team sport, especially in acro and pyramid when there's multiple girls working together.
Do you think there's added pressure? We talk about getting the opportunity to compete here at home. Is there added pressure maybe to have a better showing because you are home and you have your friends and family in the stands?
I feel like there is a slightly added pressure because you know that not only maybe like your parents are there, but your friends are there. Other students are there watching you. So there definitely is that extra added good pressure.
We get ready now for the pyramid heat. Noting the acro heat for Stevenson. They scored a 6.175 out of a possible 10 points. As we await the judges to tabulate the Falcons score, we have to wait and see how many points they get deducted after that little wobble there with Peyton Taramina, but able to recover to the Falcons. They look to get off to this strong start here in the compulsory event. How about for you? When you look at the meet format, what was your favorite event to compete in?
I feel like it would differ or change year to year, but ever since freshman year, I always gravitated towards pyramid event.
Okay.
Just because there is that team aspect to it, and my freshman year we competed the crab pyramid, and that was kind of our staple all 4 years, and ended up taking it to nationals I believe my sophomore year. So I've always had a soft spot in my heart for a pyramid event.
Oh, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
So the Falcons staying loose, and that's always so important. You got to not only stay in the moment, but also can't get too tight. Got to stay loose because it's a long meet.
Definitely. I feel like that's kind of the unique thing about the acro meets is we have music playing. So you're kind of just moving around, constantly warming up. You have the 2 mats on each side, so you can be moving your body the whole time and staying warm. And that's a big thing that Coach Sarah always told us is got to keep moving.
Now for the Falcons, they scored an 8.050. That in the acro heat as we get ready now here for the pyramid heat of the compulsory event. And again, for Stevenson, a start value of 10. One of the tops there for the Mustangs being Alexis Fortier, a sophomore from Edgewood, Maryland. This program out of Maryland. There you go for Stevenson. They so far this season, the compiler record, a couple of victories, 6 defeats as they come to town with wins so far over West Virginia State. That was on March the 13th, and more recently knocked off Buffalo State on April the 7th. The Buffalo State program that's in its first season. They were just in competition in our previous quarterfinal, falling against Trine. But trying to build off that momentum as the Mustangs watch the video board here inside the John Book Fieldhouse. It's got to be kind of unique. You got the video board here, and so as soon as your heat's over with, they replay the heat, and you can watch it right away and make some in-meet adjustments.
That is so cool. That must be new.
No, it is for this event.
Okay, because I'm I don't even remember seeing that projector. That's amazing.
Welcome to the NCATA Division III tournament.
Wow.
Well, I was talking earlier. We had Jessie Alexander on earlier today, and she talked about how, you got the phone, and if Coach just so happened to record the particular heat, you went back and you watched it on the phone. And that's how you did it back then.
That's how we did it back then is right.
Falcons are coming up with a start value of 10. And again, with the pyramid, we'll see Taramina with Bale, Sanders, Comprud, Ainsley Taylor, and Sanders. The other pyramid with Feifel, Arndt, Owens, Gabby Dixon, Eliana Schmidt, Evericks, and then Emma Paulick is going to be handling the counting. You cannot diminish that role and how important it is just having that counter and hearing the numbers out loud and just staying in rhythm.
Especially for the compulsory event because you are counting for quite a while. It's you have to focus yourself.
So here come the Falcons for heat number 2 of the compulsory event. As we're just underway here in quarterfinal number 3. Stevenson scoring a 9.150, so a solid score for the pyramid heat for the Mustangs. As the Falcons build their pyramid with a combination of Tarmina and Alexis Feifel. Feifel with that gymnastics background. Tarmina competed in gymnastics for a good 16 years. Nice roar from the Falcon faithful. Some not only friends and family, but alum here as well as the Falcons celebrate another year of competition. They've been around now 10 seasons, a program that was established back in 2015. And it really is when you look at the schools that are here competing. The Falcons, one of the older programs among the 8 schools that are here this weekend.
Yeah, it's super cool. Even just to see like the Division III schools grow is absolutely incredible. Yeah.
What do you think about some of the competition you had when you competed for the Falcons? I mean, you were playing some of the who's who back then.
So my freshman year, Oregon actually came here, and that was so crazy. That's
an education, real quick.
Oh my gosh, our eyes were wide open. But yeah, we've also competed against Baylor. We've gone down to Texas, competed against schools over in West Virginia. Yeah, we've been everywhere.
You look right now at the NCATA championship rankings, some of the who's who, Baylor number 1, and you look at Oregon, they're number 4. Mary Hardin Baylor's going to be here tomorrow as number 5 in the entire nation, so they have their sights on going to West Virginia for the national tournament in a couple of weeks.
Wow.
But a who's who as we move on to the toss heat with a start value of 10 here for Stevenson. So again, off the toss, in sync. Good showing there from Stevenson. Note for the Falcons in that pyramid heat, 9.625. Heck of a score there. So some high scores in the pyramid heat. And that's always a big question mark. You just never know. And nothing against the judges, but you just don't know from one meet to the next what kind of scores you're going to get. It's a free-for-all. You just got to go out there and do your best. Hope for the best.
That is a huge part about these girls coming from a cheerleading and gymnastics background. We're definitely used to that, especially in acro traveling. Not gonna lie, we definitely like traveling down south because the judges down there score a little bit better. But yeah, it's very interesting. It's in the hands of the judges.
Well, and the beauty is for an event like this, you have the same judges throughout the course of the 3 days. So you get a feel for maybe what they're looking for. And as a coach, as an athlete, you have the opportunity to communicate with them in between and go, hey, where can we improve here? And what are you looking for here? And hopefully you make some of those tournament adjustments.
Definitely.
As the Falcons get ready for their toss heat. I think this first half is always unique, too, because it seems like the first half takes a little while, it develops, and all of a sudden you get to halftime, and then bam, things pick up in half number 2.
I know. I always felt like the first half of the meet took the longest, and then it was halftime, you start warming up, you're tumbling, you're getting those nerves back, but then all of a sudden the meet's already over.
Goes quick.
Yeah.
Compulsory toss will be Concordia-Wisconsin.
Yeah, the Falcons with a start value of 10. Some of this same athletes back out there for the Falcons with Tarmina, Vale, Comprud, Sanders, and Taylor on one side. Feifel, Arndt, Sanders, Owens, Schmidt, and then Gabby Dixon counting. But that group on the other side of the toss. So here in this heat, Stevenson scored an 8.500. We'll wait and see the Falcons score, but strong start for both sides early on. Pretty impressed with the energy level and just the focus here early on in this compulsory event.
Definitely. I see a lot of smiles out there.
It's always a good sign, right?
Oh, yeah.
I've talked about this in the past. This is one of the more positive sports you can possibly be around, the energy level, but even the positivity where, yes, you're trying to beat Stevenson and vice versa, but you guys are also rooting for each other in the sense that you want to just see good competition. You want to
totally
pump anybody up you can. And we've seen that throughout the course of the day, the sportsmanship with the various teams that are here in Mequon, Wisconsin.
Yeah, I'll never forget, going to my first meet freshman year. That was, the first thing I noticed was, wait, the other team is, cheering you on and, wants you to hit your skills and, do well. It was just such a like eye-opening, like positive experience. And
Yeah, what was that first meet like? New to the sport,
Yeah.
new to what acrobatics and tumbling's all about, and then all of a sudden you're out there competing. Was that eye-opening?
oh my gosh, it was so eye-opening. I think we traveled to Gannon, if I remember correctly. So it was an away meet. It was my first time competing. The nerves were definitely high, but I came from a cheerleading background, and I felt like acro, almost like I could calm myself down a lot better. And so it's like I just refound a passion for like a different team sport.
We watch right now the tumbling heat for Stevenson for the Falcons and the toss heat. Another solid score, 9.575. So some high scores here in this compulsory event for the Falcons. Just looking at some of the season scores for the Falcons, and we look at a couple of 9s so far, 9 in the pyramid. Their high was 9.50. They came through with 9.625, so a season best in the pyramid heat. Also a season best in the toss heat. Their previous high was 9.55 in the season opener against Adrian on the 11th of February, so that's got to be a big bright spot of your head coach, Sarah Koenig. Seeing some of the scores pop up there and a couple of season highs already in 2 out of the first 3 heats. Just missed out on a season best in the acro heats. But a great start now with the tumbling heat here for Stevenson, waiting for the final total to come out, as the Falcons also will come out with a start value of 10. How often did you pay close attention to the scores, or were you, so focused on the event that you didn't really worry about the scores until maybe toward the end?
I feel like it was like a mixed bag. Like when we were competing against like Adrian, for example, always checking the scores. But other than that, it really was only like on certain heats that we knew we were like hoping for a high score. So like an acro or pyramid event, then we like definitely would like watch for the score to hit.
Well, those Adrian battles, always tight.
Yes. Oh my gosh. Every single meet.
So it came down to almost every time to that team
event. Yeah.
Some tense moments back in the day. Falcons, Bulldogs. Adrian not here competing as a team, but we'll have a couple of representatives coming up for the event finals on Saturday. But Division III now up to a total of 8 schools. They got 7 competing here this weekend. All 8 schools will be represented in one form or another. Third event after being in Adrian, Michigan a couple of years ago and Texas last year. This is the part that I'd struggle with, is just the downtime and just staying engaged, because as soon as that thumbs up goes, you got to go.
Right.
But you don't know when that thumbs up's going to come.
I know. I feel like there is kind of a lot of downtime.
Waiting to see the thumbs up from the judges. Not coming yet as the scores come in. Waiting the Falcons to take to the mat for their tumbling heat to wrap up the compulsory event.
That's another thing. I feel like it definitely does take the judges a little bit longer after we tumble, because they're trying to count up like how many little deductions, if girls like stepped out. So yeah, definitely takes a while after tumbling, and then especially after team event to get those final scores locked in.
Do you ever get used to this downtime?
I feel like it always depended. Like, let's say I was warming up a skill and it didn't necessarily go the way I wanted to in warm-ups, then I'd be like using this waiting time to practice. But I feel like it was always fun just waiting and cheering each other on.
Well, we look at Stevenson for their tumbling heat score and got to double check to make sure it was correct, a 2.000.
Yeah.
So the Falcons now out there, opportunity to really create some separation here in the compulsory event.
That's another thing these D3 schools opportunities are is it's hard to get numbers for especially compulsory tumbling because not everyone on the team has each one of these compulsory tumbling skills.
So the Falcons right now with 6 out there competing. But a good start here for the Falcons here in the compulsory event. That's always a good sign. Set that tone for what could be. And if it goes well, I got to believe that mindset, that momentum is there. If it doesn't, all of a sudden you got to find a way to sway that momentum.
100%. I feel like half of acro is that mental mindset that you have, and like if the vibes are super high and like that team energy is there, it literally carries you through that whole meet. And on the other hand, like if something does go wrong, it almost like you have to find that somewhere. Like you have to almost move on and like pick yourself back up, pick your teammates back up, because that energy is key.
Gotta have that goldfish-like memory, that quick memory if anything goes awry. And what was nice for your team is you always had and you were part of a very strong senior class. And that helped. And I know they have some nice leadership on this team as well. They had 4 seniors that were honored on senior day on Saturday, 5 seniors listed, but athletes that have been with this program for 4 years. And that's always key, sticking with the program from day one to now 4 years later.
Yeah, because you have, like, every year you can improve and just, like, gel even further. And your mentality is just that much stronger because you have, like, gone through the process and you know what you're doing.
And we move on now to the acro event. Your thoughts on the acro event and just what it's all about?
Yeah, I always loved the acro event. It is super interesting because there is like a crossover rule, so you can only be in so many different heats. But yeah, acro is super exciting because it's the girls that are coming from a cheer background and gymnastics background. It's like almost combining those two. And when fans come and they watch acro for the first time, this acro is super exciting because like you see girls flip off of each other. Like you don't see that in any other sport except for acrobatics and tumbling. So it is like really exciting, and it's different than compulsory because each school has different elements in their acro heats. So one team could have a start value of a 9.5, and the other team could have a start value of a 9. It all depends. I was
going to say, you're so used to the compulsory event where pretty much everybody has that start value of 10. Now it starts to see the degree of difficulty come into play. You saw the judges a second ago. They've had a busy day already, and right now figured out the final score from the compulsory event, but it looks like the Falcons are going to have themselves a nice little lead after one event scored, especially after that tumbling heat. And we mentioned this is only the second time the Falcons and the Mustangs have seen one another, seen each other, part of the NCATA Division III tournament in 2022. And the Falcons had a convincing win, 249.130 to 132.175, and then would go on and beat their rival Adrian for the inaugural NCATA Division III championship, a banner that hangs here inside the John Book Fieldhouse. But just talking about the growth of this program, and it has grown night and day. Yeah. Even from your freshman year, probably to your senior year, probably a ton of changes within that 4-year span.
So many different changes, and like even different rules. And like even looking back from when I had graduated to now, there are different rules. Some little changes, tweaks here and there. Compulsory pyramid is different, and even in our acro event, for one of the heats, there's 2 groups that go out, and in the past, it was not a thing. So, yeah, it's pretty cool just seeing like the improvements that this sport is having year after year, and especially in the D3 community.
Absolutely. Well, looking at the scores from the compulsory event, the total is in for Stevenson. They had a score of 25.825 after a start value of 40, so 25.825. For the Falcons, 31.575, so close to a 6-point lead after the compulsory event, after they scored just a 4.325 in the tumbling heat, so a tough heat for both. But the Falcons at 4.325, which will now move us to the acro event, heat number 1, 5 elements, and a start value of 9.55 here for Stevenson. Last time out for Stevenson against Buffalo State on April the 7th. In the acro event, they end up scoring 22.40 out of 26.75, and did well with the first heat, struggled a little bit in heats 2 and 3. So this has been, when you look at the acro event, one of their stronger heats. We'll see if they get off to a strong start. But they will come back out with Annabelle Rosso.
Event total, Stevenson.
Ruiz is out there along with Robin Skroger, a sophomore out of New York. And then Jaden Jacobs doing the counting. The Mustangs bringing back 8 from their team last year, a roster of 13 freshmen, 7 sophomores, 4 juniors, and a couple of seniors, but lots of depth with 26 up and down that roster. So here are the Mustangs. Heat 1 in the acro event. The upper body strength from the base. Annabelle Rosso, you can see, looks like she's playing injured or powering through and able to find a way to do just that. So impressed, and that's the one thing about this sport that maybe doesn't get talked about a lot is the upper body strength. I mean, you can talk about focus all you want, the energy level all you want, and that's very important areas, but it's the upper body strength and just holding another human being above your head and being able to hold that for 3+ seconds.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy the strength that these girls have.
Like, what was a typical for during your time with the Falcons, like a workout training, or what was the whole workout pattern you guys went on?
Yeah, so we would have practice 4 days a week from 6 in the morning to 9, and then we had to be in the weight room at least 3 times a week. And we had like a set lifting schedule from Coach Siekman. And every so often we would have to go to conditioning, which would be right after practice. So, yeah, it was.
Power through.
It definitely was.
That is quite the commitment. Looking at Mary Hart and Baylor earlier, they were out here practicing too, and just you could see the strength. You look at their bases and look through their practice. Again, very impressive stuff. And we'll see them again in action coming up at 10 o'clock in the morning. They'll be in a semifinal against Texas Lutheran, who knocked off East Texas Baptist in our first quarterfinal of the day. But for the Falcons, they will come out with a start value of 8.50. They were season best, 7.70. So aiming high here in heat number 1, 5 elements. For the Falcons, Jaden Vale, along with Kadia Sanders, Adriana Evericks, and Caitlin Osborne. A couple of freshmen, a couple of sophomores, one of the younger areas for the Falcons.
8.50, Concordia-Wisconsin.
It's odd for you to see somebody else wearing jersey number 12.
I was just thinking that. I think that is the first time since. I may be wrong, but yeah.
That being Caitlin Osborne.
And her name is Caitlin.
Yeah, go figure.
Oh.
A freshman from Kingsville, Maryland. Just look at that balance. think it's always key to get about 3 seconds, give or take,
Yes.
and finding a way to do just that to Caitlin Osborne. That's impressive. Because not only do you talk about the upper body strength, you talk about the balance, but even the trust they have to develop with your base and top and vice versa throughout the course of a year.
Yeah, no, that's definitely a huge thing. I mean, not only in acro event, but especially once we get into toss, that trust is like a key factor. And like you're throwing girls in the air, you're flipping in the air.
How long did it take you to trust some of your teammates? Did it take a little while, or is it something that you earn automatically and then it's almost for that trust for them to lose?
Yeah, I feel like having a cheerleading background, it's like that trust was already there. Like I grew up having to trust my bases and teammates. But definitely when like you're working in a group and something doesn't go as planned, it's like, yeah, you definitely slightly lose that trust, but you just have to build it right back up again and keep trying. And yeah.
So for the Falcons, and that trust has been built. They brought back about 14 from last year's team that finished 2-7. Look at the roster. We talked about the 5 seniors, 3 juniors, 7 sophomores, 4 freshmen, but still a lot of youngsters or younger athletes, if you will, in this acrobatics and tumbling program. And I've heard many athletes say it takes you maybe about a good year and a half, almost 2 full years to really grasp and get used to what acrobatics and tumbling is all about.
Totally. I feel like even like thinking back to freshman year in meets, you're just like so confused. You're like, okay, I'll just like follow everyone's lead. Like when it's my turn, like everyone will tell me. But yeah, definitely like going into your sophomore year, like there is a little bit more of a comfort level, but you're still even trying to figure things out.
Like you said, it probably doesn't help if they're changing rules here and there, and you're trying to get used to the different formats of a meet.
Yep. Especially when those tri-meets are in there. Those get tricky.
And again, one of these teams will be part of a tri-meet tomorrow if they lose.
Okay.
We'll talk about that as we go along as you watch the second heat, 6 element, a start value 8.20 for Stevenson. Again, Rosso out there is one of the tops. Rosso, Estes, Warner on one side, Fortier, Jacobs, Ozimic on the other with Emma Bereznak, the counter, sophomore from Maryland. In that first heat, Stevenson besting the Falcons. They scored an 8.475. The Falcons, 7.3. So a 7.3 in the first heat for the Falcons. Just missed out on what was a potential season best. They've done better here in heat number 2, and they've had some high scores in the 9s. For heat number 3, we'll see if that trend continues for the Falcons, but they will come out with a start value of 9.80. And for the Falcons, we'll see Tarmina, Ellen Marie Sanders, Gabby Dixon. And next to them will be Feifel, Owens, Taylor, and Arndt with Eliana Schmidt handling the counting. So the Falcons want to bounce back here and pick up what would be their third win of this season. Win so far twice against Adrian on February 11th and again in Michigan on the 7th of March. They've had some close losses, though. They've been right there trying to get over the hump. But some tough losses against Trine twice, lost to Augustana, South Dakota twice, and fell against St. Leo. That was on the road back on the 2nd of March. The Falcons won the NCATA Division III championship in 2022. Last year, a couple of losses against East Texas Baptist, against Mary Hardin Baylor.
Start value of 9.80. Concordia-Wisconsin.
But here come the Falcons for heat number 2, 6-element acro events. Nice recovery there by Amanda Owens, the senior base from Stevens Point, Wisconsin, coming with a competitive cheer and dance background. And the flip there involving Feifel and then Tarmina on the right side of your screen. Boy, smooth transition.
Yeah, that looked great.
They will maintain the balance, and again, the crowd reacting off that second heat. A chance there for the Falcons to gain some ground after Stevenson scored a 7.550 in this second heat. So a chance here to even things up in the acro event. Let's move on to heat number 3, 7 elements. And for Stevenson, a start value of 9.00. Stevenson scoring a 6.80 in their last meet against Buffalo State in this heat. That was on the 7th of April. And this is the tough part. Again, standing, waiting. Looking over at that scorer's table, looking to see what's all transpiring, but you can see some of the athletes also looking to the stands to see, hey, who's here?
Yeah.
What alumni are here, former teammates. It's going to be pretty neat for you, too, because there's still some athletes that you probably competed with that are on this Falcon roster.
Yeah, so when I was a senior, the girls who are seniors now were freshmen. So Elle, Amanda, Peyton, and Haley. I was just here for their senior meet, so that was like super exciting and bittersweet. And Peyton and Haley are one of my close friends still, so it's.
And how neat for those four that you mentioned. They've been here for 4 years, and they were talking about the other day where they came in with about 11 freshmen.
Yes.
To tell you about like how competitive and how difficult the sport can be.
Yeah.
You have 4 left in 4 years.
I know, it's crazy. Like. They did have a huge freshman class. I totally forgot about that. Just four girls remain.
Well, the Falcons gaining some ground in that second heat. They scored an 8.700, so 8.700. Just missed out on the season best. You check out heat number 3, the 7 elements, and a start value of 9 for Stevenson. Out there is Trinity Poltrack, a freshman with a gymnastics background from Annapolis, Maryland. Up top, sports jersey number 10. Allison Ozimic. Now the base here for the Mustangs. Off the land there by Poltrack. The Mustangs there in heat number 3. Not bad.
Yeah, that looked good.
Now the Falcons will come out with this is, you talk about a strength or perhaps a strength. They have a start value of 10, which tells you a little bit about heat 3, 7 elements, and the possibility.
Definitely. This is an exciting one.
And just looking at some of the scores, the high for the Falcons in this heat is 9.2, which came against Adrian in the season opener. So a chance here to
definitely
maybe gain some ground and some improvement. I guess at this point in the season, too, okay? You've been out there. You competed now for 7 other meets. This is, you're just tweaking some things. For the most part, you know what you're doing. It's a matter of perfecting.
Definitely. It's almost like that confidence is there because you've built it throughout the season. It's just like you said, like making those minor tweaks here and there, just perfecting it the best you can.
Does it ever get old, like you've gone through the same routine over and over again to the point where you're like, okay, even if you're not perfect yet, you're like, we get it. We know what we're supposed to be doing.
Yeah, it's almost like towards the end of the season, you're getting cold at practice, which is like so weird to say, but yeah, you aren't as moving around, just getting those reps in. I
can't wait till we talk later about the team event because I got to believe that's one of those events where, again, from day one all the way through, yes, you're trying to tweak and perfect, but Can you? I mean, it's organized chaos.
Yeah, team event is so exciting. And so many things change throughout the season. So, yeah, looking forward to team event.
Falcons will come out here with that aforementioned 10 start value. And Peyton Tarmina, the top. Ellen Marie Sanders, the base. Off the flip. Landing so critical, trying to plant that landing perfectly. We'll see Peyton Tarmina trying to recover. Oh, we talk about upper body strength, recovering there where she could completely tumble and someone was able to stay up and turn that into something rather than nothing.
Yep, exactly.
Let's introduce the pyramid event.
So get ready for some of the final scores here in this heat. We move on to the pyramid event, and you were talking about the pyramid event, and you like the pyramid event, huh?
Yeah, I love the pyramid event. I feel like it's almost kind of like a breath of fresh air. Like you come out of the acro event where maybe the nerves are there, but then you go into a pyramid event and it's like there's just something about it. I don't know if it's because there's more girls out on the mat. It's more of like a team effort. Yeah, there's just something.
Do you like more teammates on the mat or less? And I guess I say that because in some cases you got to know where they're at all times and make sure you're not stepping in their boundaries and their territory, and you guys got to be in sync.
I feel like when there was more girls on the mat, it kind of eased me, but it like just depended what we were doing. Yeah.
We're waiting to see the scores once again as they add everything up here in the acro event. Falcons, a nice job of playing comeback in at least that second heat. We're waiting to see what they scored in heat number 3. Same thing for Stevenson. As the Falcons once again came into this second event with a near 6-point lead. Going to move into the semifinal round, which whoever wins this one will move on to the semis and take on number 2 Trine. Trying to runner up for the NCATA Division III championship last year, and they have sights of trying to face Mary Hardin Baylor once again if they're to advance to the final. That's what makes this event so much fun. And you talk about the growth of this sport is seeing the different styles and from the different parts of the country, who can do what. And if nothing else, if you're coming back next year, you might learn a thing or two and try to, hey, let's try that next year. Hey, 100%. We can do this.
100%. Yeah, it's super cool just seeing the pyramids that like each team is doing, and like you'll see like Baylor and Oregon perform a pyramid, and you're like, oh my gosh, that is so cool. Like I want to take something from that and try it next year. Yeah. Well,
for the Falcons in the acro event, heat number 3, they scored an 8.350. Stevenson a 7.575. So the total for the acro event would see the Falcons a slim victory, 24.350 to 23.600. And so the Falcons still with about a 6+ point lead, 55.925 to 49.425. So it's still awfully close. And all it takes is one event to go awry, and all of a sudden Stevenson's right back in the mix of things, and we'll see what happens here in the pyramid. But coming in, the total start value, Stevenson at 29, Falcons at 29.70. So get a chance here for one thing goes south. All of a sudden Mustangs are right back in it. And that's going into halftime. So heat 1, the inversion, and the Mustangs a start value of 9.50. We'll see Rosso with Bereznak, Warner, Scrauger, Alexis Gross, Allison Ozimic here in this first pyramid heat for the Mustangs.
It's now time for Pyramid Heat 1. 1, the inversion pyramid.
This is a program that went through their growing pains, 0-8 in their inaugural season of 2022, 1-8 in 2023, the victory against Caldwell University before what has been a 2-6 start to this 2024 campaign. Now, the clock's working, too, and you got to, form the pyramid and the toss all in a certain amount of time. Did that ever enter your guys' brain when you're out there? I mean, you have plenty of time, but does that ever cross your mind? Like, how much time do we have if things are moving slow?
Especially for 7-element acro, that was always, we always had to keep an eye out because my senior year I was in 7-element acro, and it always was pretty close.
You see that, too, with the team event. It's mind-boggling how the teams get it down to almost a second left or 2 seconds to spare. It's like just perfect timing.
Yep.
Falcons are going to come out here with a inversion Heat 1 start value of 9.70. Their season best 9, which came against Trine. That was a couple of meets ago. Always fun to see with this Falcon team. Every year it's different, but what the strength of the team may be. And they've had some success in the pyramid, a number of 9s, overall scores of above 27. Seems like Tumbling, they've had some nice scores as well. So it always varies based on the backgrounds of your athletes. But it's always fun to see where the Falcons' strengths and maybe where they can improve, where those areas lie. What was your guys' strength typically when you were on the roster?
I feel like it, like you said, it definitely differs year to year. Pyramid was always one of our strong suits. I remember scoring a 10 at Adrian, which got us to nationals in Texas. So that was definitely a memorable moment.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, trying to hold up Peyton Taormina with Haley Comprud, one of the bases out of Janesville, Wisconsin, with that gymnastics background. And another one of those 4-year members for the Falcons, honored during senior day, along with Owens, along with Eliana Schmidt in that matchup against Augustana, South Dakota. Well, they talked about just the emotions of that day. And I know you went through it, too, with senior day, and you think back to where you were in day one and how you grew as an athlete, as a person over that 4-year span, the mental toughness, the strength, the confidence you gained over those 4 years. It all kind of comes together, and it's kind of bittersweet. That last day when you go out there, it's great being honored, but it's also sad that, hey, it's coming to an end.
Yeah, it is so bittersweet, especially because for our senior night, obviously we didn't have D3 nationals back then, so that last time hitting the mat on our senior night was the last time we ever touched the mat, and there were definitely lots of emotions. I remember in team event, hitting my tumbling for the last time. That was the last time I ever tumbled, and just, there were lots of tears, happy tears, sad tears, very bittersweet feeling, especially because you grow up your whole life in that particular sport. Most of us girls came to Concordia, did acro. That was something completely different. So it's we kind of grew a love for the sport, and we only had 4 years to do it. And before you know it, those 4 years are over.
Well, like you said, too, half that time is getting used to the sport, maybe growing that love and that passion, and understanding what it's all about. And by the time you figure it all out, you're halfway through your career.
I know.
Goes so quick.
Yep.
Up first with a start value of 9.
Heat 1 for the Mustangs of Stevenson. Again, the pyramid would see the Mustangs score 8.700. Falcons 8.175. So on to heat number 2. Synchronized. A start value for Stevenson of 9.50. Rosso and Fortier, the two tops. You gotta make sure that landing, that catch is there. And I think it was mentioned earlier, kind of that saran wrap catch where you want to make sure it's almost, you don't bounce, it's almost perfect. Yep. Falcons will come out with a start value of 10 for heat number 2. Their season best is 9.35, which was accomplished a couple of meets ago at Trine. Last time out for the Falcons against Augustana, South Dakota. Ended up scoring 27.800. Not a bad showing during the pyramid event. A 9.25 here in heat number 2. Yet again, after one heat, the Falcons with a slight deficit here in this event. Look at the competition roster for this second heat. Tarmina, Vale, Owens, Ellen Marie Sanders, and Evericks. Other pyramid with Feifel, Arndt, Comprude, Ainsley Taylor, and Eliana Schmidt. And Gabby Dixon handling the counting. You ever handle the counting?
I did. For acro, or for compulsory acro, I've been the counter, and it is certainly a feat.
You would think it's easy to say 1, 2, 3, or whatever it be, 1, 3, 5, 7, whatever the combination may be, but man, we've got to think about it.
Yeah.
And they're relying on hearing that to make sure they're on the mark.
Exactly.
So those are the responsibilities right now of Gabby Dixon. Freshman beige from Elkhorn, Wisconsin, coming to Concordia with a gymnastics, golf, and track background. Again, Feifel, Tarmina handling the top responsibilities. Jaden Vale among the bases. Part of sideline and competitive cheerleading. When it comes to timing, does that ever come into play as a judge? Okay, if you get 40 seconds or 45 seconds, you use up 15. Does that work against you? If it's too quick, is it sometimes, do you want to eat up some of that clock?
Honestly, I'm not totally sure. I feel like the judges are probably less focused on the time unless they know it's going to be close. More so on if those girls are holding the skill for the 3 seconds, focusing on that dismount, watching for any steps or deductions. But yeah, I'm not sure, like, if they do go over time, what type of deduction that is.
I enjoy watching it. We're just zoomed in on the Falcon team silent area, and they were all watching the replay. And you can see the reaction where, not sure at first, and then you'd see one little, fidget here or there, and all of a sudden, like, you could see kind of the reaction of, if we kind of messed up there or whatever, and then quickly Coach Koenig coming in and making it a teachable, coachable moment.
Totally.
In that second heat, Stevenson has scored 8.500, so they're off to a nice start here in the pyramid event. We move to open heat 3, and the Mustangs have a start value of 10. Falcons did well, though, 9.550 was their heat 2 score, 9.550, which is a new season best.
Awesome.
So we saw that reaction was more about, hey, perfection than anything, because judging by that score, great job.
Especially in those synchronized heats, timing is everything.
See Ruiz holding up Rosso. Talk about leg strength there with Allison Ozimic. And a good showing there by the Mustangs against Buffalo State. A 9.35 in heat number 3 out of a possible 10. That's one of their higher scoring heats here in the pyramid event. I think it's one of the more enjoyable things, watching the team's reaction, watching themselves on the video board here and taking it all in and seeing what all took place. That positivity, though, is so critical to be successful in a sport like this. You talked about it earlier. You have to have a short-term memory.
Yeah.
You got to find ways to be positive regardless of what happens.
Yep.
And again, when you're positive, then it's easy for your teammate to be positive, and it's contagious.
It's like a butterfly effect.
Yes. And a lot of smiles so far here in the first half of this quarterfinal.
Next with a start value.
But it's been a good start so far to this pyramid event for both sides.
Wisconsin.
The Falcons will come out with a start value of 10. Peyton Tarmina, Madison Arndt, Haley Komprut, Eliana Schmidt, and Ainsley Taylor on the mat for the Falcons. Looks smooth. And with Peyton Tarmina. Now, when you watch a meet like this, you have the trained eye. You competed out there. What do you watch for?
Yeah, I feel like
This concludes the pyramid.
it's almost kind of like a muscle memory thing. Like what I used to like watch back in the day, like I still watch. Like for me, for example, in pyramid event, I was a mid, so my eye goes right to the mid and watches what she's doing.
The fastest growing collegiate sport for
But yeah,
women by visiting the
I feel like in pyramid event,
you'll find the 2024.
Do you notice the little things?
yeah, I do.
Do you?
Information about
Yeah.
That's I think would be the hardest part as a judge, is that trained eye, just watching, okay, that foot's a little bit off, or that hole.
Or even watching like the mid with her core. As soon as she starts arching her back slightly, it's like you can tell that top is fighting up there.
Halftime upon us here in this quarterfinal, and when we come back, we'll have the toss event followed by tumbling and the team event as things pick up here in this quarterfinal. You see the score through 2 events scored. We'll come back and get you the totals for the pyramid events as we continue between the Falcons and Stevenson. It's quarterfinal number 3. It's day 1 of the 2024 NCATA Division III tournament on the Falcon Athletic Network. Getting ready for the second half in this quarterfinal between the Concordia-Wisconsin Falcons and the Mustangs of Stevenson University, making the trip up from Owings Mills, Maryland. It's quarterfinal action of the 2024 NCATA Division III tournament. Again, right now, the Falcons with a near 7-point lead, 83.200 to 76.325. We move on to the toss event. Before we talk toss, Katie, your thoughts on the first half, what you saw in the first 3 events?
Oh my gosh, that was so exciting. Honestly, from both teams, I feel like the energy was high. Like we said, the smiles were there. The girls looked pretty confident. So I'm excited for the second half to begin.
The 450 Salto, Heat 1 of the toss event, 8.80 start value here for Stevenson, not wasting any time getting to the mat, and away they go. I know during the break, the Mustangs were celebrating when the scores were being announced in the pyramid heats. I know they were ecstatic about the way they went out there and competed to hang around with the Falcons so far through one half. The Falcons will come out with a start value of 9.40. Is it challenging at all coming out of halftime? The energy level, it was so high to wrap up the first half, then all of a sudden it's kind of a lull, and now you got to build that energy level back up.
No, definitely. And I feel like because those harder skills per se, the more, I wouldn't say harder, but more the skills that give us anxiety, like tumbling and toss are coming up. So yeah, those jitters, it's like they went away for the first half, but halftime comes and they're right back. So yeah.
And you got 3 heats here in the toss event before you get to tumbling, and then the team event to wrap up this quarterfinal. Ever a big fan of the toss?
Yeah, toss was fun. I was a base, so definitely took a lot of hard hits. Lots of bruises on the arm, bone bruises. many times that I've gotten my nose hit.
Mm.
Chin hit to the nose.
And you got to power through, right? You got to pretend like it did happen.
Every single time.
9.40, Concordia-Wisconsin.
So here come the Falcons. Their season high is 8.15 in this heat. Looking for a strong start here in half number 2.
Pretty.
Yeah, may have gotten it.
Mm-hmm.
There with Alexis Feifel. Told she comes with that gymnastics background. Always the fun part about this sport is looking at the background for these athletes. You talked about your cheerleading background, a lot of gymnastics, dance. You get a couple other sports in there mixed in, but for the most part, it's gymnastics, dance, and cheer, and somehow all those sports can come together, and you can become a very talented athlete in acrobatics and tumbling.
That's the beauty of this sport, is that you don't even necessarily need like a cheerleading or gymnastics background. You just have to have the mindset of trying new things, being uncomfortable, working in a team, and like you'd be surprised at yourself, like what you can actually do.
And I'm guessing you're uncomfortable quite a bit because you're doing things that you didn't know your body was capable of doing, and flips and stuff that you gotta somehow find a way to do.
Right.
Looking at heat number 2, it's synchronized. Stevenson will be up first with an 8.80 start value, but waiting for the first scores here from the first heat. And for Stevenson, it's 7.550. So 7.550 out of 8.80. Waiting for the Falcons score to come in.
Up first with a start value of 8.80,
Feifel
Stevenson.
On top there for the Falcons, they scored 8.750, so a good start through one heat for the Falcons in the toss event. Synchronized here in heat 2. Just watching the timing, watching the flip, and again, almost instantaneously on both sides. The flip, the catch. I don't know how you guys do that. Figuring out the timing and just having it almost down to a half a second, not even.
Yeah. Timing is everything.
And you know the judges are watching from different angles to see just how close it truly is.
Yeah.
And again, you see the Mustangs going back to watching the replay board here inside the John Book Fieldhouse.
And that's the thing with toss event. It's like doing reps at practice is critical, but every rep you take, it's like it's hard on your body. It's hard for the tops. It's hard for the bases. Like you get fatigued super easily, but those reps are crucial.
When you look at it, talking about being in sync, and obviously it's called synchronized for a reason, but when you look at the right side, at least in this case, you can't see but your teammates on the sideline in front of you. At least on the left side, you can see your other teammate in front of you, and you kind of got a sense of when they're about to do their flip and get into that same rhythm. Yeah,
so that was interesting how they were facing that way. I don't remember. I'm pretty sure Concordia faces the front, so like the tops, it's easier for them both to watch each other out of the corner of their eye. Yeah, and even for the bases. So I'm not totally sure the benefit of that, but
we'll see. Again, they came with a start value of 8.80. We'll see what the judges had to say about that as they discuss and write down the scores. The Falcons are going to be coming out with a start value of 9.40. Yeah, their season best is 9.20, which came in the opener against the Adrian Bulldogs.
Next with a start value of 9.40, Concordia-Wisconsin.
So again, talking about the level of difficulty or degree of difficulty with the start value. Different look that time with Katie Katula, sophomore back from Pennsylvania, track and field, cheerleading background, handling the counting. What do you think there for the Falcons?
Oh, I love seeing a good full toss. It's so pretty, especially that Concordia has too. Is like super exciting.
Goes so quick too.
Yeah.
And for Stevenson in the second heat, a score of 6.800, so a chance here for the Falcons to create some separation in the toss event. Coming into this event, the Falcons at a start value of 28.70 to the 26.25 for the Mustangs. Get to the open heat, too. Get a little creative here in heat number 3. And Stevenson will have a start value of 8.65. And we'll see for Stevenson, Rosso, Jacobs, Warner, Scroger, and Gross. And counting will be Ruiz.
The final heat will be the open toss. Up first with a start value of 8.65, Stevenson.
So here come the Mustangs, the 6th seed. Again, their 3rd season of competition. Under head coach Megan Dapre. Her first year, 2nd head coach in the program's existence. So Stevenson there in heat number 3. Falcons scored an 8.550 in heat number 2 for synchronized. So they have built about a 3-point lead through the first couple of heats here in the toss event. And we'll come out here with a start value of 9.90. How unique. You look at Megan Dapre, the head coach for Stevenson. She competed on the team the past 2 years. I mean, she just graduated.
Oh, my
And all of a
gosh.
sudden, here she is. She graduated now to become the head coach, just like that. So
she
she's not
competed with Stevenson.
as of last year.
Oh my gosh.
And the year before that, and all of a sudden, here she is, freshman graduating to becoming the head coach after 16 years, a 16-year veteran of competitive gymnastics. Got to be unique. Some of these athletes were her teammates.
Right.
And now she's coaching them.
Oh, that is so cool.
And you see a lot of those type of stories in and around this sport as it continues to grow. And you like to see that. Some of these athletes getting the opportunity to give back.
Yep.
Continue to help grow the sport. Certainly Sarah Koenig, a great ambassador for acrobatics and tumbling.
Yeah.
And what she can help grow the sport after she competed once upon a time at Oregon and helped them win a NCATA national championship in 2014. She gets it. She knows what she's talking about.
The start value of 9.90.
Gotta believe as an athlete, when you have a coach like that has won a national championship, regardless of what the role may be, you stop and you listen. She knows what she's talking about.
For sure.
Gets to the Falcons a start value of 9.90.
Aw.
That last heat, this 3rd heat, Stevenson with an 8.125.
Results of this event in our meet standings.
So they currently have, well, at least in that whole event, they scored 22.475.
The first 3 are synchronized.
They have a total of 98.800 for their team score.
The last 3 are individual.
Wait for the Falcons' Heat 3 score. You talked earlier about, going from event to event, heat after heat. And you've been through this. What's the feeling right now if you're Peyton Tarmina? I mean, you've been the top in a number of these heats, and you're constantly being flipped around, tossed around, upper body strength. How do you mentally and physically get through a meet like this with so much asked of your body?
I feel like the biggest thing is you just have to focus on what you're doing right now. You can't focus on something that happened the heat before, or if you're nervous about something, a team event, you really just have to lock in and focus on that upcoming heat.
I would just think it would be just so tough. And just, again, by this point, I mean, you probably have some pains. I mean, you've been through a lot already today. And, and somehow you got to be mentally strong and pretend like that's not even happening.
Yeah. there's a lot of times where like we would have to step off to our athletic trainers and like get something retaped up, get something taped, because like you said, like you do kind of have those slight pains, sometimes even coming into a meet, if something like happened during the week in practice. But yeah, there also is that kind of adrenaline piece, so it's a little bit easier to push past something, but
and if you're
it's
tired,
pretty crazy.
you can't be. You
Yeah.
gotta pretend like mentally you're not tired. You
Right.
gotta, again, push through.
Oh yeah, these girls are tough.
The Falcons that last heat got a 9.375 for an event score of 26.675. So continuing to see that lead grow. It's over 11 now. The Falcons 109.875, 109.875 to 98.800. So continuing to grow the lead. That's always a plus if you see that scoreboard and see that lead growing as you get to the tumbling event.
Oh yeah.
Start value here for the event for the Falcons, 50.25. For Stevenson, 47.70. This is where you said things can get a little tricky. And trying to think what the word you used, talking about maybe the anxiety of knowing that the tumbling event is coming up.
Oh, yeah.
Concordia-Wisconsin,
To bring back some of those memories.
Oh, yeah.
So you're never a big fan of tumbling.
So it always, and for a lot of girls, like tumbling is more mental than it is physical. Like our body knows what to do. It's almost like muscle memory. Our body can do it, but it's that mental piece of like having to actually do it. And sometimes it's like you're almost like psyching yourself up before. But that's why we always visualize what we're doing, and we just know what to do.
And you look here with the duo pass to get things started. A start value 8.50 for Stevenson. Annabelle Rosso, Trinity Poltrack, the two on the mat. All about that timing, not necessarily about the spacing, and it worked out beautifully there for the Mustangs. And a sophomore and a freshman there competing for Stevenson. Falcons have a start value at 9.10, and their duo pass will consist of a sophomore in Ainsley Taylor from Michigan, and Ellen Marie Sanders, a junior. She is from Maryland. Got some Maryland flavor on this Falcon roster, taken out of school from the state of Maryland. I think the tumbling event is always unique too, in that you have only about 2 or 3. Sometimes you're by yourself, depending on the pass. But it comes down to that. I mean, it's not the whole team. They're there cheering you on, obviously, but it comes down to 1 or 2 performers, 2 athletes to score those points for your team.
Yeah.
A lot more pressure put on. As the Falcons await their turn.
Next, with a start value of 9.10, Concordia-Wisconsin, number 15, Ainsley Taylor, and 17, Ellen Marie Sanders.
Taylor with a gymnastics background. Ellen Marie Sanders with a gymnastics and softball background. Trying to stick that landing there with Ainsley Taylor. Let's get that 1 step or so to maybe try to recover.
Doing a 1.5 on dead mat is hard.
I've heard that a lot. And why do you think that is?
I think it's just because there is that extra rotation. Like when you're on the dead mat, there is no spring floor to like give you that extra boost. Yeah, it's not an easy skill.
Are you? I mean, prior to maybe acrobatics and tumbling, are you used to performing on a dead mat? Okay.
So for cheerleading, I competed school cheer, and so everything was done on a dead mat. So coming into tumbling, there was no adjustment from a spring floor, which was nice. But yeah, for these girls who are coming from gymnastics backgrounds, going from a spring floor to a dead mat is a huge difference. Yeah.
All part of the adjustment period. Stevenson in that first heat with an 8.100 for a score. See how the Falcons fare as we get ready for the trio pass. This is one of those heats where the Falcons have an opportunity to maybe again create a little bit of separation in this tumbling event. And Stevenson has a start value of 7.50, but the Falcons with a start value of 8.50. Out there for the Mustangs will be Annabelle Rosso. You have Mariana Ruiz
Number 2,
and Mackenzie Estes.
And number 16, Mackenzie Estes.
Falcons scored a 7.850, so a little bit behind here after one heat in tumbling. And I think at least in the Falcons score, perhaps the landing and not sticking the landing came into play a little bit. We'll see if it costs Stevenson here at 2. A little bit of a stumble for a couple there off that last flip. The Falcons can gain some of that difference back right here, and they will send out Eliana Schmidt, Peyton Tarmina, Alexis Fife, a lot of experience among that trio. Was there always a comfort when you'd be out there, whether it be competing in a tumbling event or one of the other events, side by side with a couple of teams that you've been with for 2-3 years? Was there always that comfort, kind of knowing what they bring to the table?
Oh, totally. I feel like you kind of know like where your teammates' like strong points are, and so you can just build off of that. Or it gives you motivation yourself, however you look at it.
I'm sure these three have pushed each other throughout the course of the year. And you look at Feifel, top from Michigan, a gymnastics background. Tarmina, still going strong as a senior from Geneva, Illinois. And then Eliana Schmidt, cheerleading track background from nearby Germantown, Wisconsin. Some of these athletes, too, you look at their background, and I know Eliana Schmidt in that category, but Haley Komprud, not only have they been out there competing for a number of years, but having overcome some adversity with injury. And we talk about, gaining trust of your teammates, but also regaining confidence after an injury and knowing, hey, I still can do it, and I won't get injured.
Right.
Having to be mentally tough. Did you ever have to overcome injuries in a sport like this?
Definitely. Freshman year, I had a lot of ankle issues. Had to get cortisone shots.
Whoa.
And then my junior year, right before COVID, I fractured my wrist. And so I was in a cast all of COVID times, and then coming back my senior year, there was that mental piece of it.
Well, job well done for the Falcons with a trio pass. It's just a matter of just going back out there and competing to overcome that hurdle.
Totally, and even just thinking back to Elle here, doing her full, she was injured doing this skill.
Yeah.
And so she didn't think that she was going to be able to compete it again, mentally wise. So I saw her do it for the first time this last meet, and it was so exciting. I know the team was super proud of her. She was super proud of herself.
You see right now, a lot of her teammates are coming up to her, hugging her, and giving her a high five. And it's that mental toughness.
Oh, yeah.
You can do it. You're capable of it. Yes, you had an injury, but it's, knock on wood, it's not going to happen again. Just go out there and do what you know what to do.
Yep. Muscle memory.
And able to go out there and take care of business now in a couple of meets. That second heat, Stevenson, again, we talked about sticking that landing. 5.325 for a score. So knocked off some points there. Falcons a little bit stronger when it came to the landing. We'll see if they are rewarded in the point column as we get ready for the quad pass. A start value of 7 for Stevenson.
The final heat of synchronized passes will be the quad pass.
Alexis Fortier, Trinity Poltrack,
7.00.
Robin Skroger, and Allison Ozimic out there for the Mustangs.
Number 24, Robin.
Falcons have scored a 7.400. So a slight, about a 1 point lead through the first couple of heats here in the tumbling event for the Falcons. Again, watching for that clean landing. We're going to plant the landing. Falcons will come out with a start value of 7. And we'll see Madison Arndt, Haley Comprud, Jaden Vale, and Gabby Dixon. You look at an event like this, you have a freshman, sophomore, junior, and senior, so you see a little bit of the future, and you see, in one case, one of the athletes that will see her time with the Falcons come to a close when all is said and done here this weekend. And the winner today will move on and compete again at 2 o'clock tomorrow in a semifinal. Whoever falls here in this quarterfinal will be part of the tri-meet. So far, 2 out of the teams determined with East Texas Baptist and Buffalo State. And then whoever falls here tonight will be also part of that tri-meet at 6 p.m. tomorrow night. And be sure to check out CWFalcons.com. Links for the live webcast, the live stats, updated scheduling information throughout this NCATA Division III tournament. All culminates with the event finals Saturday night at 7 p.m. The team championship is at 10 a.m. on Saturday. Hoping for a great turnout atmosphere here coming up on Saturday. Can't imagine after 2 or 3 days of competing, energy level what's going to be like on Saturday and what your body's going to be feeling like come Saturday without that recovery time or that lengthy recovery time.
Number 11, Jaden Vale, and number 10, Gabby Dixon.
That last heat, this heat for Stevenson, a 4.375.
Nice.
That was nice. You're talking about being in sync for the Falcons in the quad pass. Big opportunity here to even create more separation here in the tumbling event. And we now go to the aerial pass. Trinity Poltrack will be the lone Mustang, the freshman. Will be out there on the mat performing. Now, when you watch some of these tumbling passes, these heats, so you watch it, like we talked earlier about where your eyes are set for some of the other events, but how about with tumbling? You're watching feet, you're watching the tumbles. What are you looking for in these various athletes?
I feel like for tumbling, it's always curious. Well, if it's duo, trio, or quad, probably watching timing. If it's for either the area, the sixth element, or the open pass, it's like watching the control of the tumbler. And also like how many steps they're taking before their pass, because like every tumbler is different.
We will now head into the individual tumbling passes. First will be the
It's almost like a couple of your team has got a running start
Yeah.
of a step or two before you start making your move.
Yep.
We saw that last particular, quad. We're on this near side. It was maybe a half a second after the rest of her teammates.
Yep.
Here at Trinity Poltrack. Well done. After one of the 13 freshmen on the Stevenson roster. Falcons in the quad pass scored a 6.075. Right now about a 3-point lead, so last couple of heats have done them well here in the tumbling event. For the Falcons, we'll see Ainsley Taylor, a sophomore from Michigan, will come out with a start value of 8.10. We mentioned the downtime. Got to be anxious moments too now. You're Ainsley Taylor, all by yourself over there. This is your moment.
Yeah, and some girls before they tumble, they don't want their teammates coming up to them. Some girls need someone right there. It all just depends on the person.
Kind of sounds like a starting pitcher in baseball where they know they're starting to leave them alone.
Yep.
They're in their own mindset. They have their own pregame routine. Don't want to be bothered.
Yep.
Thumbs up from the judge. Next with a start value of 8.10, Concordia-Wisconsin.
Here is Ainsley Taylor.
Ainsley Taylor.
A little bit of a stumble on the end, but prior to, well done.
Yes.
Different elements there in the aerial tumble. This is where now things get even more difficult with the 6-element pass. And we'll see Mackenzie Estes, a senior for Stevenson, coming out with a start value of 7.45. Watching the score here in that last heat to see how many points they potentially deduct off that landing for Ainsley Taylor. Prior to execution, nice job for Ainsley Taylor. Again, she came in with a 8.10 start value. So after the 6-element pass, we have the open pass. Before we turn our attention to the team event, we'll talk more about that as we go along, is what goes into all that we're about to see in that. I always call it the organized chaos, but there's a method of the madness.
Oh, yes.
The Falcons will have 17 involved in the team event. Stevenson has 15. The judges discuss and enter the last heat score for the Falcons. .3 is what Stevenson was able to score.
The fifth heat in the tumbling
as we
event
see
is the
Mackenzie
6-element
Estes
up first with
out
a
there for the
start value of
Mustangs.
7.45. Stevenson, number 16, Mackenzie Estes.
Seemed pretty solid.
Yeah. Looks good.
Falcons in that last heat in the aerial pass, end up scoring a 7.475. So about a point off where Stevenson was, but still with a lead here through the first 4 passes here in the tumbling event for the Falcons. They will come out with a start value of 8.45 here in the 6-element pass. And we're going to see junior Ellen Marie Sanders. Were you an athlete that, depending on what the event was, did you want to be left alone? Were you mentally prepared, or were you one that wanted to, be pumped up by your teammates?
Yeah, my thing was halftime. I wanted to be left alone during halftime when we warmed up tumbling. But it's like once I got tumbling warmed up, I was fine. And then it was like right before team event, I also kind of wanted to be left alone, but also needed encouragement. So it was just like that happy medium.
So halftime, leave you alone.
Yeah, yep.
Would you take up that entire 15 minutes? Do you take a little bit of a break and maybe, turn your mind off for a moment?
Yeah, usually would run to the bathroom. but it wasn't until I warmed up tumbling.
You can see right now Peyton Tarmina with some words of encouragement for Ellen Marie Sanders. But eventually gets to it. It probably also depends on if you're getting bothered by a teammate, which teammate.
Right.
And not to take anything away from certain teammates, but there are certain ones where they know you, you know them, and they know how to get you ready to go versus those that are just there and be more of a bother than
right.
good.
Exactly. And you have those same girls who will cheer you on for certain skills. Nice.
See the legs slip a little bit, but she was able to keep in sync and keep in rhythm. And for Ellen Marie Sanders, which now leads us to the open pass, the final heat here in the tumbling event as we wind down day one in our final quarterfinal of the 2024 NCATA Division III tournament. And then this open pass, Stevenson with a start value 8.50 with Annabelle Rosso. Mentioned coming in with a gymnastics background. Her father played baseball at Concordia, but Concordia St. Paul. Heck of a base stealer. Annabelle Rosso, a sophomore from the state of Maryland. Among the 8 returning from last year's 1 and 18 that would go on and lose to Mary Hardin Baylor. And their first opportunity, well, their one opportunity last year in the NCATA Division III tournament. They had competed against both Concordia-Wisconsin and Trine the year before from Adrian, Michigan in this same tournament. And by all accounts, next year this event moves to Buffalo, New York. Buffalo State will be in a hosting position, so a chance to see another part of the 50-nifty. Last year in Texas, the year before that in Michigan, so certainly making sure the 8 schools, and by next year there may be even more in Division III. There's talk of another school or 2 in Michigan. Some of these teams that travel and see other venues. Nice job there by Annabelle Rosso. Last up for the Falcons will be Peyton Tarmina with a start value at 9.10. Looking at the score for Ellen Marie Sanders in the 6-element pass, she scored a 7.975. So able to outscore Mackenzie Estes and keep the Falcons in front here in the tumbling event. But a plus for the Falcons, though. They got off to that strong start in the compulsory event, and they've been able to play with that lead throughout. So a good start, and you mentioned it earlier. You get that right frame of mind, and it's carried the Falcons all the way through so far.
Oh, yes.
And then before you know it, it's going to be the team event, and that's...
I know.
I think it's fun. I don't know what it's like to compete in it. It's certainly fun to watch.
It's fun. I feel like because you know it's the last event, the meet's wrapping up, but there is that added pressure of team event.
Well, I can remember your senior class, yourself included, the final time you competed there, you guys dropped a knee and had the last little hurrah of the team event.
Yeah.
You could just see everybody just threw everything they had and everything they had left in the gas tank.
Totally.
That last hurrah, you see Peyton Tarmina trying to plant that landing.
Oh, yeah.
Trying to maintain that balance as she was nearing the end of the mat.
That's the thing about tumbling, especially on meet day, is there you have that adrenaline, so it gives you a little bit extra power, which is why we're seeing these girls take a couple extra steps after they land.
And that camera shot we had a second ago was perfect. All of a sudden you saw Sarah Kana kind of tap Peyton Tarmina on the back. They pointed up at the screen, and she could quickly see, okay, what happened there at the end. So with the scores here for this final heat of the tumbling event. Okay, tell us about the team event, okay? You've been part of this now 4 years.
Yep.
Every year is different.
Yep.
When you look at what's being choreographed,
Yep.
the music, the whole routine.
Yes.
What goes into that? What goes into that decision making? Who picks the music? All that goes into the team event.
So choosing the music, we would compile a list of songs that kind of touched everyone's like genre.
Okay.
And then Coach Sarah would take that list and send it to her music person. And then someone outside would obviously create it. And then Coach Sarah would obviously be the one to choose what we're doing in team event. But based on what we were strong at is like what she would choose. So like you kind of knew what you were going to be doing, but a lot goes into it. And I heard that Winterim is no longer a thing.
It's no longer a thing.
Which is huge for acro because that is when we would focus on our team event.
Okay.
And when we would have those 2 days, but they didn't have that this year. And so I even heard that it was right up to their first meet, like things were getting close and they didn't have all the reps in for team event that they needed to. And that's another thing for team event is reps and having that stamina. But you do it one time full out, that's a lot on your body, but we would have to do at least 2, 3, even 4 full outs.
Do you ever have to trim some of it just based on time? Like you try it once or twice and realize, boy, we're about 10 seconds too long.
Yes. Yep.
And that's got to be tough, too, because all of a sudden you're mentally like, okay, this is where we do. Oh, wait, no, we're not doing that part now.
Right. We have to kind of shift gears. And, like, even injury is a thing, too, is like when a girl gets injured, that's a huge toll and impact on team event. Because sometimes you don't have another person to step in, but you have to make it work. You have to switch things up. Yeah.
That last heat in the tumbling event, Stevenson scored an 8.325 for a total tumbling event score of 40.625. For the Falcons, they scored an 8.700 for a total event score of 45.475. So the Falcons are back up nearly 16 points. 155.350 to 139.425. And not that you have this mindset, but barring a disastrous team event, you're in a really good spot here going into the final event of the night. Very good spot.
Yes.
Concordia-Wisconsin.
The Falcons will have a start value of 96.36 for the team event. Stevenson 92.34. We told you for Stevenson they will have 15. In this team event, the Falcons will have 17 involved in the team event.
Concordia-Wisconsin 7.975. In the open heat, Stevenson 8.32.
Overall, though, as you got about this point in the season, did you tweak a lot in the team event? Was it? Did you pretty much know what you guys were doing at that point?
You were confident in the skills that you were doing, unless there was a tweak in the week leading up to the meet. But yeah, you were pretty confident in what you were doing. It was almost more just like exciting to do it, and it was fun at this point of the season.
Well, it's fun too, this atmosphere, because
Yeah.
everybody gets involved. Both teams get involved.
Yeah.
It's again, you're cheering on one another and really applauding the effort we've seen here. In this case, in this quarterfinal throughout the course of the night, all that's gone into this, the work that these athletes have put in throughout the course of the year, and it all comes down to this team event.
Yep.
You're looking forward to seeing with the clock at 2:45 here. Here at Stevenson University, the Mustangs wrapping up their quarterfinal. With about 15 seconds to spare there, the team event for Stevenson University. Got to make sure you know when your cues are up to flip, to pyramid, all that goes into it. But the other thing that I find fascinating is the music level.
Yes.
And there is no particular volume you have to have it at. It's a team preference or a coach preference. You can have it very loud, you can have it soft, but it's got to be there.
Yeah.
And sometimes if it's too loud, communication becomes an issue. But we
Right.
saw some of these teams practicing earlier, and loud as heck, you can't talk with somebody right next to you. But yet these athletes are out there, they're bouncing off one another, they're finding a way to make it work.
Oh, yeah.
Falcons will come out, as we mentioned, with a start value of 96.36. We'll see 17 involved in this team event. They seem fired up, ready to go as they try to put it all together and move on to what would be a semifinal matchup against Trine, a team the Falcons have fallen to twice this season. Lost by over 18 points here against Trine on February the 18th. And then in Indiana, lost by about 14 points on March the 24th, trying to close that gap in a semifinal here from the John Book Fieldhouse. You know, for a lot of these athletes, it's excited to be back here, home, competing. Get one more opportunity, at least a couple of more opportunities to compete before the home crowd. Number of Falcon fans in the stands. We'll get that opportunity again. It's looking like at 2 o'clock come Friday.
Less than 24 hours.
That's a quick turnaround.
Yep.
That's almost like sleeping in, though, for what you guys are prepared to when it comes to practice time.
Totally. It really is.
Well, I was wondering that, too, and
Yeah.
with the athletes, you're used to competing at, 12, 1 o'clock in the afternoon. All of a sudden, here's a 6 o'clock meet. It's a lot later than you may be accustomed to. Yeah, you've had a couple of night meets here and there, but just that game day routine.
Change. Because like you said, we are used to waking up at 5 in the morning, practicing, having to tumble, having to do everything.
And then go to class.
So your body has to adjust. Like when we do have a later meet like this, it's almost just, it is very, very weird feeling.
And if you have a meet day routine, the other thing that kind of threw some of these athletes off is the fact that some might like to run around the gym or whatever to get warmed up. You really couldn't do that today because there were 2 other quarterfinals taking place.
Right.
So all of a sudden you had to find a secondary routine.
Yeah.
So for some, it's been a different
I'm sure.
preparation
I'm sure.
period. So again, the clock resets to 2:45 as the Falcons get ready to take to the mat. You have the judges that all are assigned different parts of the mat, what to watch, as they all come together and converse on who saw what. They come up with the team score. The Falcons wait for the thumbs up from the judges to get ready to take to the mat, waiting for the music to play. In case they weren't anxious enough.
Oh, yeah.
Some quiet, anxious moments now here inside the John Book Field. You can hear the crowd trying to fire up the team.
Yep.
Otherwise, you can hear a pin drop. And now the thumbs up.
There we go.
And with a 96.36 star value, the Concordia-Wisconsin Falcons.
Note that Stevenson scored a 70.150 for their team event for a meet total of 209.575. Falcons team event starting now. The Falcons team event to wrap up this quarterfinal. Your takeaways from, obviously there's some hiccups there, but able to power through, and you have to be mentally tough.
Oh my gosh.
Something goes wrong, you got to find a way to just forget, like you said, forget
You
it
really
happened
do.
and just keep moving.
Yeah, because you don't want that to carry into your next skill. Like Coach Sarah always reminded us, like if an oopsie does happen, you don't want to bring that into your next skill. Like you have to completely start new and just focus on what's next. But yeah, they looked pretty good out there. They kept the energy up. A little minor mishaps, but they'll be able to correct that for tomorrow.
You can see already the Falcons working on some things here. It's making sure, hey, with that little flip, that, hey, we don't have that little wobble.
Yep.
And if you're Peyton Tarmina, I got to somehow find that trust. I mean, it is what it is. And obviously you've worked with the likes of Haley, Comproot, and company quite a bit, but he's got to make sure, hey, it's going to be all right. You're going to be able to maintain that balance.
Yeah.
Because you do have that quick turnaround.
Yep.
And if you have hopes of upsetting Trine, you got to be even better. Got to be near perfect.
Seriously.
So what's it like? Okay, so as we wait for the scores to come in before we wrap things up, you take this quarterfinal in, just I guess your takeaway from what you saw today and just what it was like to be back here in this capacity watching the Falcons compete.
Yeah, it is so great being back here, especially the thing that I notice most about watching is it's like I almost can feel what the girls are feeling out there. So like during team event, I'm just like squeezing my hands together.
You're not that far removed.
Yeah. But no, I think both teams looked great. I think that they should be like proud of themselves. Both have things that they can work on for tomorrow, but yeah, I think they both really looked well. Yeah.
We have the Stevenson score, and we're waiting for the Falcons team event score and their total score from this quarterfinal to trickle in. We can tell you that our day 2 coverage will get underway at 10 o'clock. We'll be back on the air with a semifinal. It's going to feature the defending NCATA Division III champions, the top seed, Mary Hardin Baylor. They're 7-1. Their lone loss was a close loss to Baylor. They're going to be taking on Texas Lutheran, who won their second ever meet in the 2-year history of the program when they beat East Texas Baptist earlier today. Both of their wins in team history coming against East Texas Baptist, so they got a little rivalry there with East Texas Baptist, but that will get our day 2 started at 10 o'clock, and then the winner here gets Trine at 2 o'clock, and then the loser here gets East Texas Baptist and Buffalo State in a tri-meet at 6 p.m. So a little bit longer of a meet, but a tri-meet will wrap up the day 2 competition before we start back up again on Saturday at 10 o'clock. As the Falcons are hoping that perhaps they picked up victory number 3. Nothing official just yet. Right now, are they still talking about what transpired in this meet, or is it more just, hey, let's move on and start to just
Yeah, so
decompress?
I feel like right after it happens, if a skill does fall, you have to do it immediately. But it's like, at this point, you almost like have a weight off your shoulders. There's nothing we can change or redo at this point. You're just kind of waiting for that score. But like you said, at this point, if there is a big gap of between the teams, you kind of already know who's taking home the win. Yeah, these athletes will have to get some rest overnight and back at it tomorrow.
Well, that's the other thing. It's not like you said. It's not like you have a week to forget about this one and move on to the next. It's you got less than 24 hours.
Right.
So get to it.
Yep.
And you mentioned, okay, the Falcons had about a 16-point lead coming into the team event.
Mm-hmm.
And we know that Stevenson scored a 70.150 in their team event. So barring just a disaster, I don't think it was a disaster by any stretch of the imagination.
Right.
The Falcons should be victorious here in this quarterfinal to improve to 2-0 all time against the Mustangs. But waiting to see. Nothing official yet. And a lot of conversing taking place down at the judges' table. Who saw what from their side. And I can tell you right now the Falcons scored a 79.760. So the team event score is in, and the Falcons do in fact win. They get 235.110. 235.110. They give up 209.575. So a Falcon victory by roughly 26 points. And the Falcons are moving on to take on Trine in a semifinal at 2 o'clock tomorrow. So Falcons get it done. And it all started right away with the compulsory event. And the Falcons able to carry it through as they get the win to up their record to now 3-5. And Stevenson at 2-7 will be part of the tri-meet with East Texas Baptist and Buffalo State at 6 o'clock Central Time tomorrow night back here, John Boot Fieldhouse. Katie, enjoyed it. Great job.
Yes, thank
Welcome
you.
back.
So good being back. Thank you for having me.
Katie Mirasola kind enough to join us. Thank you for joining us. Matt Middleton saying so long. Good night from the John Boot Fieldhouse and our Day 1 coverage. We'll talk to you again on Friday for the 2024 NCATA Division III Tournament on the Falcon Athletic Network.
Concordia-Wisconsin, please make your way over to the tournament bracket on the North Wall under the flags to advance your team in the bracket. We thank you for attending today's meet.